brought to you by Fishing Magician TV. I'm Chris. This is Aaron. How we doing, bud?
Hey, big guy, how you going?
Just another day in paradise. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I heard it's a little chilly over there.
Oh yeah, it's about today. I think we hit 22 degrees.
Yeah, that's rough. That's really rough. Here we're sitting at like a level of 60 to 65. But I'll tell you this: I had a conversation with a lady this morning. I said, I don't know if it's too late for me to move back or what, because at 60 I started wearing hoodies and sweatpants again. So it's
Well,
I might
yeah,
have reached that boiling point to where I can't come back anymore, dude. I don't know. Hoping not.
yeah, you're already acclimated to Florida weather.
Yeah, it's sad, dude. But
It
she
is.
made a good point. With a bonfire or some kind of some kind of wood stove burning, we might be able to make it. But I don't know outside of that.
I hear you, man. But for everybody listening, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to give us a subscribe. If you like what you're seeing, give us a thumbs up and get in the comment section, whether if it's good or bad. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, I hope you're enjoying it. Give us a review. Let us know what you think. Give us some suggestions, and we'll see if we can put that into the show.
For sure, and definitely suggestions, guys. Like I said on the last podcast, suggestions and reviews are the way we're able to find other fishermen. So iHeartRadio and different podcast platforms, they kind of base the finding off of reviews. So even if the review is trash, I get it, I appreciate it. It still helps another fisherman find us, and that's definitely appreciated.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in some news, I heard you found a story about something going on in Canada.
Yeah, so this was a little while back. It was January 5th, but in Nova Scotia, two duck hunters, they came across like a huge fish kill, man. It was thousands of dead stripers off one of the
Wow.
beaches. I'm assuming while they were duck hunting. I got the story here in front of me. I'm going to read you guys a little bit of a snapshot of it. But two duck hunters in Nova Scotia discovered a massive, puzzling fish kill on the northern tip of Cape Breton. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but it's off
Hmm.
one of the islands. More than thousands of dead fish were washed up ashore, and the only species that was in the mix was striped bass. So
Hmm.
there was schoolie striped bass, guys. There was also striped bass reported up to 40, 41, 42 inches, which is a pretty decent sized striped bass. Uh, these two duck hunters have said they've lived up there their entire lives and have never seen a kill with just primarily striped bass. So
Wow.
that's pretty crazy, Chris. When you think about it, man. I don't
Yeah,
know if these
absolutely.
these fish were trying to winter up, or and I was thinking about it when I saw this. I know Brigantine, even up near your way, the area holds schoolie striped bass. So
Oh
all
yeah,
year long,
absolutely.
if it doesn't freeze, there's schoolies,
Yeah,
in your go-to.
we have residential fish here all year long, and even in the dog days of summer, we're still catching 50 pounders.
Right.
People
So
people.
that led me to like believe, maybe some of these fish were just their residential fish that just kind of winter over up there. And I guess, in a way, if the bait is there, if the water temperature isn't freezing, they'll stay. But what I think happened up there was it wasn't a pollution problem. I believe it was just a major drop in temperature, which
That's what I
so
honestly believe it was because, in all honesty, I didn't know striped bass go that far north.
right, yeah.
I thought it pretty much ended at like Maine and then they turn around. But
Yeah, and a lot of guys, not saying you're new to it, but a lot of the newer guys don't realize that they migrate super far north, man. And there's an amazing fishery up there. It almost like kind of levels to like Cape Cod Canal, Buzzards Bay, Providence. Like there's a really good fishery up north there, and it's not hit the way that all the major names are hit. So it's
yeah,
not you're not wondering or you're not wandering into a bunch of locals up there lying elbow to elbow, just not having it. It's kind of
yeah.
like an untouched resource in a way still.
Hmm.
Um, but to have a kill like this again, and to have two locals talk about they've never seen anything like this in their entire life there. They've also gone on in the story here in the article to say that they've seen fish kills. It has happened, but not primarily one species like striped bass. And that kind of led me into thinking, I wonder if there's with the weird weather happening, I wonder if there's schools of striped bass still off the New Jersey coast where, I'm listening to all this Facebook and all this Instagram of guys, I've given it up, I'm cleaning the boat out, I'm tying flies, and I'm waiting for the nice weather. Well, to be honest, Chris, if they didn't want to sit in and they can bear the temperatures,
Oh, there's
I
still
did a
fish
little
here.
digging. I did a little digging. There's still fish off the coast.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
there's been reports of bunker. There's been reports of birds smashing big
Oh
pots
yeah.
of bunker. So if they're willing to deal with a little bit of nasty weather, man, I guarantee they can catch some fish if they know where to go.
It's if you don't want to get into the cold, I understand. But if you're not afraid to get a little bit of cold, you go to Forman Mills, pick up some thermos for $5-10, and just head out there. There are schools of bunker everywhere, and where there's bait fish, there's a predator fish, and stripers are here. There's residential fish. There's still migratory fish that are hanging around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's plenty of fish here, and also we have the white perch.
Yeah.
The fishing it hasn't been lights out yet, but they are starting to come around.
No,
Very
for
good
sure.
tasting fish. Make a hell of a fish sandwich, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the fillets are just phenomenal on the little white perch. I got a couple. Again, I went digging for reviews and I went digging for reports on what's going on back north with the white perch and Absecon Dave over there at Absecon Bay Sportsman Center. My guy posted. I think it was December 28th that a couple guys went out, filled the cooler. It looks like they got some really husky sized perch from that trip. Again, I gave you guys a couple rivers, the Great Egg Harbor River last time, and the Mullica River. Mullica River has always been my favorite river to target the perch on because it's almost a crapshoot. It can happen in the Great Egg Harbor too, but you never know what you're going to catch. I mean, you could
Yeah,
be catching one of these residential stripers on bloodworm or even grass shrimp up there while you're perch fishing. A
yeah.
couple of good spots to try out.
I know. We jumped ahead a little bit right into like the fishing because we get excited about stuff like that.
Oh,
But to touch back on like the dying off of the stripers up in Nova Scotia, I honestly believe it has something to do with the temperature because over the past few years we've been seeing more and more southern based fish come up to New Jersey. Cobia was not a thing in New Jersey until about 4 or 5 years ago. Last year, the tarpon that broke the internet
right. Yeah.
was caught off of Manasquan.
Wasn't
Um,
that speared? Wasn't a gentleman spear in that one? Or
I,
I heard
I
a
don't
bunch
know.
of rumors about that fish.
I don't know what he did, and I'm not sure if it was even legal because from
Right.
what I know, tarpon is not a New Jersey fish, so we don't really have a regulation for it.
Yeah.
But from what I saw as a national regulation is that tarpon are not to be harvested, and the only way you can take one out of the water is if it's a pending world record and you have to have a tag on it. So I don't believe what this guy did was legal or illegal. I don't really know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's definitely some questions that I don't know if they were answered or not. But it just it makes me as a fisherman think, man, what are these fish starting to do? Coming up here. It's just is global warming a real thing? Are the temperatures getting worse, or is it the dredging and the sand replenishment that's destroying habitats? And now, like, because that's a big thing where they say the FWC, the Fish and Game Life, saying that stripers are being killed by recreational anglers, and they're seeing less and less striped bass in our area. Well, honestly, I've been fishing for 28 years. I have never gut hooked a striper, not one. And they changed the regulation to circle hooks because they're saying that J hooks, the mortality rate drops a lot,
Right.
which is a bunch of bullcrap. But they just want to keep putting more and more regulations because the less that we can harvest, the more commercial can harvest. And I understand this is not an attack on commercial guys because I understand it's just making a living. It's the people that they're selling to and working for. Like for instance, bunker is a big deal, not for fishermen as much as it is a makeup company.
Right.
Maybelline,
It's like beauty suppliers. Yeah. All sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Maybelline pays Chuck Schumer like 6.3 or $6.5 million a year to lobby for them. because he pushes more and more commercial fishing on bunker
Right.
because all of Maybelline's products have bunker oil in it. You
Yeah.
know, just go
No,
to.
honestly, I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast, dude, on regulations. Because
Mhm.
like I've got some like really really hardcore feelings about what's going on with regulations and lobbyists, and I mean, dude, hours upon hours being we could spend on this. But as far as having the migration, being off and the temperatures being off, I'm not a big believer in the whole global warming thing, but who the hell knows? I definitely don't know for sure. But what I can tell you is what you're saying is the truth. I mean, there was
Yeah.
times back when I was younger, I might have been 12, 13 years old. I remember my uncle throwing a cast net off of Sea Isle City and pulling in baby barracuda, with the
Mhm.
mullet. So it's
Yeah.
like different things have shifted over the years, and I noticed there's a pattern to it. I don't think it's anything that could be really logged or booked. I spoke earlier the last podcast about how I try to log everything and make everything a science behind it, but I've noticed there's been some kind of pattern with the striped bass migration. So a few
Mhm.
years back, they were 3 miles off and further. This year alone, I mean, they were right up against the beach. They were a mile off. They were a lot closer,
Yeah.
to be able to be caught recreationally. And personally, I think it has a lot to do with the bait fish. So again, I know a
Oh,
lot of guys
absolutely.
listening to this will be like, no duh, but
Yeah.
the migration of the bait fish that they're feeding on has everything to do where they're going to be, and temperature has to
Yeah.
be key. So, if it's
Yeah.
too
Like
cold, they might not
I
even
got.
get in.
Excuse me. I got a lot of friends that go offshore tuna fishing,
Mhm.
and it is not a common thing to see a striped bass 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles offshore.
Right.
But the bunker schools have been so ridiculously big that there's no need for them to come inside.
Yeah.
Because fish, like I said last podcast, fish ain't stupid. Fish have brains, and they know, or if they've already been hooked, they've seen their little fish buddies get hooked. They're just like, why risk going in there when I can just chase the bait all the way out here and not have that risk?
Right. Or the long
Yeah,
liners, bro. The commercial guys, like you
yeah,
just spoke about. I mean, there's a lot of pressure inland. If they don't have to be inland to get their food, why would they be? Right.
exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So I
So,
got some really good news, man, to talk about. So again, talking about regulations and talking about opening seasons and all. I did a little digging earlier in the week, and I came up with the FWC in March of 2022 is putting to vote the harvest of Goliath grouper. So I know for the northern guys, not a real big deal, right? But
mhm.
if you guys had a 300 to 800 pound trash can, a Hoover trash can, sitting over behind brigantine, sucking up all the bait fish and everything
Yeah,
else that moves in front of it, it would be a big deal, right? So
absolutely.
here in Florida, man, this is a huge thing because I don't. Again, we can go for hours on lobbyists, man, and voting, but I don't think this will be enough. I think this will be a start. This is a great start to getting some of these, couple. Who knows how old these fish are, but some of these monster Volkswagen fish out of the water, and it could regenerate. It could even, help the species. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow
Mm.
the snook, some of the smaller, fry that are being spawned that these Goliath grouper are just sucking down. It's going to give them a shot at coming back a little stronger, And
Yeah,
and again, I mean, taking out some of these big live grouper when they're just so plentiful, man, is not a bad thing right now. So
exactly. Because they're a super predatory fish that are eating, game fish and smaller fish in general. So
right,
if we can bang a couple of those out of the way, it won't hurt
no,
um, anything
no,
at all,
not
in
at
my
all.
opinion.
And guys, it's an important thing here. If you guys are listening from Florida or anywhere down south here, the vote. If you go on to fwc.com, you'll see it's one of the first fonts that pop up where it says voting for the Goliath grouper harvest. And there's a bunch of different regulations that they're opposing on the different gear you could use, the season, the location, everything. Because key doing this is not over harvest like striped bass, like anything
Yeah,
else that's out there. So they don't want to open the floodgates and just have people murdering these fish all crazy. But
exactly.
if you do go online, guys, you'll find all the regulations, you'll find all the information about it, and your voice can actually be heard, and your opinion hopefully will matter when it comes to voting on this bill. So if you guys have any kind of opinions on when it should be opened, how many you should catch, the whole nine, get on the site and vote. Because again, without us, I mean, they'll pass whatever benefits them. So
Absolutely. And the thing about Goliath grouper is I fish for dinner as much as I fish for sport. Now, I'm not okay with killing something that I'm not going to eat.
right.
Now, the thing with the Goliath grouper is it's such a massive fish that it has a lot of meat. I think maybe they need to limit it to maybe one per angler per month or something like that.
Right, right.
Maybe do some type of tag system where you're going to have a tag when you catch it and you say you want to harvest it and submit
Yeah.
it. Because let's face it, nobody's going to eat that much fish, in a week or so. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's something that they need to think about, put some science behind it. I'm pretty sure the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries got some type of data that they're going to bring into the meeting and do something like that.
Yeah, that's key too. Is that what they're trying to do is they're trying to give a window, and I'm sure the marine biologists and whoever is harvesting these things for science data, or they already have a key to be able to harvest these fish. But that was a big pitch and a big throw in into actually voting on this. What it will give the marine biologists extra specimens to be able to fillet and go through and examine and figure out why they're getting as big as they are, what they're consuming, or
Hmm.
is the Goliath grouper part of the problem? It'll give a lot more data to be able to vote on a better proposal for sure in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, you know that they're consuming bigger fish because we've all watched catching Goliath grouper videos on YouTube,
Right?
and it's like you go fishing for a false albacore, which is already a fun fish to catch, especially on like tackle, and then you're using that as bait.
Yeah. I mean, anything,
Yeah,
jack, a ladyfish. I mean, you name it. You throw it in front of this fish's face, and it gets close enough, it just sucks it in. So
yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if a small tarpon was rolling by, it's eating that too.
right, anything. I swear to you. I mean, I know everybody's heard the stories of finding license plates in their bellies. That's not only sharks, man. I mean, these
Yeah.
freaking things, if it flutters the right way, these guys will suck it down. So, it's a good thing, man. And I'm very anxious to see what's going to come out of this. If it's going to be, this all out, spearing them in the face off the piers kind of thing, or if they're going to have some kind of law and some kind of guideline behind it where the fish species is still being protected, harvested the right way. The right way is the key here, and nobody really knows what the right way is until you jump off the bridge and try. So, I'm anxious to see how it's going to turn out for sure.
I'm sorry, man. I'm really, really thirsty today.
Thank good.
But let's get into some fishing reports. You've been fishing lately?
Yeah. So this past week, I wish I could give you guys a lot of personal fishing reports, but this past week the wind has been blowing upwards of 22 miles an hour. We've had wind advisories all over up and down the river. If you're not finding one of them little inland, estuary honey hole spots, then you're not out in the water. Especially in a skiff, you're getting blown off crazy. So did a little bit of land fishing. Went over to the inlet. Um, Actually, last night I did a little bit at the inlet, and the inlet is still packed with fishermen. I've seen a couple really nice snook being caught, not even using live bait, using artificial. But then the guys that are actually putting in their time and getting the live bait, either cast netting it or buying it, and fishing for a certain species have been producing a little better than the artificial guys have. I've seen quality fish caught on using live bait than artificial. And
Mm.
if you guys are looking for the elusive flounder, I will tell you this: there has been a couple caught out of the Sebastian Inlet, and there's actually been a couple caught even a little more south than here. So again, Aaron's fish brain is going crazy trying to figure out which direction to take and where they might be better than the other areas. But I'm thinking if you guys are really targeting them like I am, I would stay put here in Sebastian. Maybe go the next inlet north, and just again make sure you have live bait. Make sure you have the perfect size, either finger mullets or if you can get the pigs, threadfin, croaker, which is almost impossible right now. But if you can get live bait, mud minis even, keep them down low on the bottom, maybe a 1 ounce, 2 ounce weight, so you can actually feel these fish bite. I think Sebastian Inlet and one inlet north be the prime area slice flounder right now.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of flounder, I've actually seen on the old interwebs on Facebook a couple of friends of mine that are out there blackfishing. Um, it's pretty funny how the last week of December and the first couple weeks of January, they're catching 24, 26-inch fluke,
Right,
which is
really
summer
nice guys.
flounder.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes you think again about the water temps. Like, what's going on? That's
right,
not normal,
right.
So, yeah, that's it's pretty interesting to see what's going on. Definitely got to
My
find out.
my best time back north. Excuse me. Back north, New Jersey, Brigantine, Great Egg Harbor was the month before Flounder season opened. Was always when the bigger fish seemed to move in. And again, I know they put the regulation there for a reason, but
Yeah.
I do the whole catch and release thing. I go out to try and find the spots these fish are laying in, but try to get a habit down or routine down. So when the season opened, I knew what to target, and I knew where to target, and I knew how to be productive. So
Yeah. So, as far as my fishing report, I haven't really been fishing much. I did try out for some blackfish last week.
yeah, how'd that
Uh,
go?
I went out to Raritan Bay. Nothing with size, no keepers. They were all shorts, but still a lot of fun using a 6-ounce rod and some green crabs, and they were biting pretty good. But the biggest one, I believe, it was 14 and a quarter inches, maybe. And they got to be
Still,
15 for us to keep. So,
you had no white leggers on the boat, or did you guys go out on a personal?
no, I was actually on land.
Oh, off land.
Yeah, I was fishing off of a drain pipe. I don't know if you're familiar with Moby's restaurant
I haven't
down in
been to the
Raritan Bay.
Raritan area at all, man.
Yeah, it's directly underneath the Highlands Bridge, and I know somebody's gonna be in the comments section roasting me because I'm giving up a spot, but it's Raritan Bay. If you're
People joke.
from
If they got
if
rocks, they got black. They got black.
if you're from Northern Jersey, everybody and their mother has fished Raritan Bay.
Right,
It's
right.
no secret, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've always like drove around Raritan area, and I've made the mistake many times where guys from work would be like, hey, we're getting the boat loading up and we're going to Raritan, and there's huge schools of bass in there.
Oh,
I would always, for some reason in my mind, I would either go a little bit more north or a little bit more south, and I'd always miss that bite. And there's some quality fish caught in that area, man. There really is.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's really sad to know what the bay used to be and to what it is now. When I was a kid, there wasn't anything you couldn't catch inside the bay.
Yeah,
You never had to go to open water. I mean, you catch stripers. I'm talking about big weak fish, big fluke, which is summer flounder, porgies, blackfish, sea bass, you name it. To this day, my biggest summer flounder was caught inside Raritan Bay. Back then, we didn't weigh fish.
right.
This was a 32-inch summer flounder.
Yeah, that's a
Biggest,
welcome mat.
and we caught it at around the Horseshoe Cove area. There used to be a little island inside the bay of Sandy Hook, and Hurricane Sandy decided she wanted to take it with her.
Yeah,
It's not there anymore.
put it in her purse.
Yeah. So me and my pops, we woke up, we knitted up some spearing, and we went out there, and I was 8 years old, and the first thing I thought was, I'm stuck.
Yeah,
So my
fish of a
dad,
lifetime.
yeah, so my dad walks over. I don't know any better. He walks over to pop it out, right? And then as he's walking towards the back of the boat, my rod just goes ying, ying. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's a fish.
Right, right.
So I start cranking it, and I've never really had a fluke pull drag like that.
Yeah.
He took a look like 10 yards, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is this? This is not a fluke.
Right, black
But
drum, something. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And when it came up and I see that big beautiful pattern that they have with the spots,
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, holy crap, man. When we netted it up, you know, a lot of people would be mad to know that I killed the fish that size, but just so you guys know, we did eat all of it. Nothing went to waste. When I got home, it took up half of my kitchen table.
Wow. Good.
This is
Good fish.
this was a girthy fish.
Yeah.
You know, very girthy fish. I can't guess a weight on it, but like I said, 32 and a half, 32 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was delicious, man. Fish that size, we throw them on the barbecue.
And listen, back in the day when Chris was 8 years old, when I was 8 years old, things were different, man. That and I know a lot of guys will say, you're the reason why, or you could be a contributing factor to the reason why fishing is the way it is now, or it's suffering. But I tell you this, we never expected it to end. We never expected it to stop.
Yeah,
We,
of course.
there wasn't conservation in place the way there is now to prevent against people doing things like that. It was, you grew up understanding if you killed it, you ate it, and if it was edible, you ate it. So it's like, it's one of them things where I'm sure Chris can relate. We didn't grow up very wealthy. We didn't grow up very, very rich. Same with our parents. So
Yeah,
a fishing adventure was almost going to go get dinner. Like if you
yeah.
caught something, that was such a prize to bring home, to have something different on the dinner table than hamburger friggin' helper or mac and cheese. You know what I'm saying? Like
Much better
that
than
was
going to the
such a,
supermarket.
it was like Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I hear you. And fluke is not my favorite fish to eat. And
Right.
a lot of people really scratch their head when I say this, but there is a fish that people call trash fish that I enjoy and
Let me
love
guess.
eating.
Let me
What?
guess.
What? Do you,
Sea Robin.
absolutely,
I
man.
knew it.
That is delicious. That it's probably in my top 10 fish to eat. Sea
Yeah,
robin, to
I've
be
been
honest
told
with you.
that. I've been told that.
Yeah, have you ever tried it?
I've never tried it. We get some
Oh
big ones
man,
here, man. Let me tell you, some
yeah.
monsters. Yeah,
I mean, I don't keep them when they're small. You know, when we get the bigger ones and they got a
yeah.
decent fillet on it, then yeah, I'll keep one. But there are fish out there that people say that are trash fish, and just give it a try. What do you got to lose? I mean, you're
Right.
catching them left and right, so give it a try. Like sea robin, what I like to do is, well, with most fish, what I like to do is I will sit it in the bowl with lemon juice, some garlic powder, um, salt, pepper. I'll let it sit there for about 4 hours. Then I'll brush it through some flour, egg wash, and just fry it up till it's golden brown.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You have some of that with some rice and a beer,
Oh, you make me
man.
come back. I'll tell you
That's a
this
good
though.
meal.
I got a buddy. I got a really close friend of mine named Jim. He's from up your guys' way, more south towards the Brigantine area. And Mr. Jim is one of them guys that will try anything. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
right? So he got a hold of some video of some guys cleaning puffer fish, and
Oh yeah.
we one year back behind Brigantine, you could not throw anything in the water without getting bitten in half by a puffer, right? So this
Yeah.
man fills a bucket full of puffers, nice sized puffers, brings them home. When I tell you, it reminded me of like cleaning a rabbit. He was like ripping the skin off of these things, but when he got done, all of like the gruesome friggin' cleaning of these fish, it was all white meat and it was all cartilage. There wasn't much bone at all.
Yeah.
So I did try it, and I tell you what, it's really, really white. It's right up there with flounder, sea bass, things like that. Like you just have to know how to clean it. And I think for a lot of guys with the sea robins, even some of the skate, man. I mean, I know there's
Yeah.
a lot of crap for the skate, but the fish that you are legally allowed to keep that people call trash fish. There's plenty of YouTube videos on YouTube on how to clean these fish properly, and you will be surprised. Like Chris said, the meat's
Oh,
good.
absolutely. And I hate when people talk bad about skate. Skate wings,
Right.
uh, delicious. Me personally, unless if I'm on like a party boat or a charter, I don't keep them because I don't know the exact way to clean it correctly or
Right.
fillet it or whatever you want to call it. But when I'm on a charter and they're a mate that that's experienced and knows how to do it, I ask them, hey, cut that up for me. It's a really really good thing to eat, to be
Yeah,
honest.
no, they say it's just like scallops, man. A lot of and I never found out if it was like a myth whether or not like artificial scallops in the store that most people think are scallops are friggin'
But
skate
there's
wings,
skate,
right?
yeah.
I never found out if that was true or not, or if it was something some old timer just made me friggin' believe. But
I know a fish market that does that.
all right, so there you go. So
Yeah.
we just fact busted right now, guys. So that skate wings are literally as good. Sometimes depending on the way you eat them, right there with a freaking scallop. I know I can tell the difference. I'm sure Chris can tell the difference. But when I was
Yeah.
younger, guys, I mean, a lot of these people would eat freaking skate wings and not know if it was a scallop or not. So
And
that tells you how good it is.
it's just like with scallop. I mean, not with scallop, excuse me. With salmon, if you go to a restaurant, you order salmon. right? What color is salmon?
Well, I never heard it called salmon, but salmon.
Well, I say I
I know
actually
you normalize
pronounce it the
things,
way
so
it's
I get
spelled.
it. No,
But yeah,
I was
salmon is
thinking
pink, right?
right, right.
All right. Have you ever noticed that a lot of times when people order salmon at the restaurant, it comes orange?
I got you to say salmon just
Why? Because it's steelhead. It's not actual salmon.
now. Oh, got it.
Yeah, you got me to say salmon. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, and it's wrong
Right.
because you think you're getting one thing and you're getting another. But like,
It just proves how people judge a fish off of what it
without
literally
knowing,
looks like, and
yeah,
not what it could actually be. So no, it's the truth, man. It's a great point, dude. You think you're eating friggin' salmon and you're not.
yeah. So, what else is going on down there in Florida?
Well, down here in Florida, this season we call it the snowbird season or the season. It's actually coming into season. So we get a lot of these festivals and we get a lot of the flea markets that come up. And I know here very shortly, it's right before my birthday actually. January 21st is the start of the Frog Leg Festival. I know sounds southern as can be, right? But
Hmm.
it's actually a really good time to take the kids out, take the family out. They have vouchers where you can buy, almost like a meal ticket, and you can eat almost everything that they prepare there. A bunch of carnival rides, different kind of vendors, art crafts, stuff like that. But if you're looking for something more fishing related, they have a bunch of fishing flea markets that are coming up also in either the end of January or the beginning of February. And if you go onto Facebook or even if you go to Google and you Google fishing flea markets in Florida, it'll pop up almost like a list of every single one date to date. And
Hmm.
let me tell you, they're not as good as some of the ones back north. If it's some northern guys trying to find something new to do, you might get a little let down. But then there's a few that are in the mix that literally are like eye cast, man. Like you walk into a convention center and it's filled to the
Yeah,
gills, full of different vendors. You know what I mean? So you keep your eyes out for the good ones. Spend some time going to the ones, and you never know, you might find something you like.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because in the wintertime, I'm not all that big of a fan of being fishing in the cold,
Mhm.
uh, unless it's for blackfish. But my favorite thing to do in the wintertime is me and my buddy Jose. We hit up as many flea markets as possible, and I got a couple coming up. February 5th, it looks like the Raritan Bay Anglers Club is throwing their flea market. It's going to be in St. Cecilia's School Hall, corner of Oak Tree Road in Islip, New Jersey. February 12th at the VFW on Route 36, one of my fishing clubs, Highmar Striper Club. We're throwing our flea market there.
Nice, very
And
nice.
also, you got the big Philly Fishing Expo show coming up February 18, 19, and 20, if I'm not mistaken.
I wish
And
I would have. Wish I would have known about that one when I was there. 'Cause these sound like all really good shows that I never even heard
yeah,
of.
the Philly show, I haven't personally ever been there, but I know, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a member, but Highmar, we throw probably the best flea market in the entire state of New Jersey.
Wow.
We have dozens upon dozens of vendors. A couple years ago, because we didn't do it last year because of COVID. A couple years ago, I think we had 40 to 45 vendors there. I mean, you got all
Not
types
bad.
of stuff. You got used fishing tackle, new fishing tackle, and just the deals that you get are amazing. And also, if you're still new and there's things that you want to learn, you got a couple great seminars. Tony Majra will be there giving a seminar on bunker spoon fishing. Also, Joe and Jerry Zagorski giving a blackfish seminar. At the Philly show, my buddy Eric Kerber, Captain Eric Kerber, be giving a seminar on a fish that is so hated on, but so cool and loved by a specific group of people, which is snakeheads.
Hmm.
I understand that they're an invasive species, but somebody put them there and they're thriving. They're not killing the bass population or anything like that. And he's going to give a seminar about how to fish for them. It's mainly a top order bite thing, but also I encourage people to try and catch a snakehead. I have I've never landed one, but I have hooked into one, And the reason I couldn't land it is because I was fishing from a bridge off the road. And, you're using 15-pound test, and these things pull hard. It's going to
Right.
snap.
They're fighters.
But I have never personally ate it before. But Curbs tells me, he's like, look, man, you might rethink about your saltwater favorite fish. Like my favorite fish to eat is ling,
Yeah, yeah,
and then a very very close second is blackfish.
yeah.
And Curbs is very firm, saying, "Hey, snakehead is probably better than blackfish."
I can't agree with him on that one, man, because I have eaten it, and I'll tell you, it is one of the fish that we just talked about, though, that looks, it's covered in friggin' slime. It's got a bunch of teeth. It looks,
Yeah.
not like something you want to eat, but it's got super good white meat, man. Like a lot of the guys, I've heard stories in the past of how this fish was actually put into play because people
Hmm.
wanted to be able to harvest it to eat it because it was that good, So
Yeah.
it was it's one of them fish again that you look at and you think it's trash fish or whatnot, but it's a good fish when it comes to eating. And I think you have to kill them when you catch them, something like that. Is there something
Yeah. I
play like
believe
that?
you have to bleed it out right away.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fish out there that are called invasive species, but it's because our government or Fish and Game Commission has thrown them in there for a reason, like down in South Florida, the peacock bass.
Right.
I haven't heard anybody really complain about peacock bass. They were put in there to combat some other type of fish. I don't remember what it was. Oh, because people keep dumping cichlids into the waterways down there. And they put the peacock bass there for that. Now, the one fish that was dumped in the United States that actually has become a really big problem is the Asian carp in Chicago,
Oh
like
my
the
God.
Illinois River.
Not even. I mean, goodness, dude. There's a carp here. I don't know if it's the Asian carp or what is the carp that's covered in black. It's a black carp, but it's covered in like it almost looks like black armor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not
All
know.
right. Well, I'm telling you right now, there's thousands of them in all of these little washout ponds that are around my area, man. They've been
Wow.
put in there, I know for sure, because when we were fishing there trying to catch them, they're, nothing against Asian gentleman runs down the bank yelling at me because I'm about to keep this fish. So,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that was the dad of all these fish. So they were his babies. He's put them in there, and they're thriving, dude. There's thousands upon thousands of them. When I tell you the water goes black with these fish, it was bugging me out for a minute because I didn't know what was in the water until I got
Yeah.
close to this fish. Again, another fish that looks like a trash fish that's supposed to be super good eating, dude.
Yeah.
That's one I won't touch, to be honest with
The Asian carp in the Illinois River. I mean, it's becoming a dangerous situation because a boater is just going by and these fish are jumping out of the water,
you. Yeah.
whacking somebody in the head. Now imagine if it's an older,
Oh, I
person,
get it. Yeah.
driving a boat, and a fish can potentially knock that person out. Being
Sure.
older, they're a lot softer, and that's becoming a real problem in that river.
And
That's for sure.
well, when we were speaking of flea markets, man, there's one flea market that I forgot to bring up that I have to bring up. I can't forget to bring up. It's the Ocean City Intermediate School. So I don't know if
Mm.
you've ever been to that one. This fishing flea market was when I was younger. It was the first fishing flea market that would come around for the season for us South Jersey guys. And excuse me, it had all of like the big hook vendors where you could buy all the hooks in bulk. You could buy all of the gear that somebody has like accumulated over their entire life. They would bring it into this place, set up a booth, and you would have an array of different stuff to buy. So it definitely does have a lot of the bigger vendors there. I think S&S is there. A lot of the like bigger brands have small booths that they do set up there, and they have either someone working it for them or someone going there. But that was such a small one, and it was good. Like they had quality in the size of the event that they had, and I know everybody's admission fee went either to a great cause or that school. So it was something that was like very, very cheerful going to. You felt like you were a good part of something there.
Yeah. The furthest south I believe we go for a flea market. Now it's not that big of a deal, but back then, me and my buddy Jose, we'd always go to the Palmyra flea market,
Yeah.
which is like way down south because we always used to buy our salmon belly strips there. He was like the only guy that sold it, and like
Oh,
nobody knew that secret. Like
right. Right.
Now you go to any bait and tackle shop and they all have salmon belly
Yeah.
strips. But yeah, we always used to go there just for that. But some of these flea market vendors, man, they do make some good stuff, and this is actually how they make their living for the entire year. So just get up out there one day with your family. Bring your son, bring your husband, bring your cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever. And sometimes it's a good time and you find some amazing deals. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking about high quality gear at a really good price.
You can't beat it. I remember I walked down this one aisle at the Ocean City Flea Market, and I found a pair of 1980s jetty cleats. Right. So for me, with the jetty cleats, it's such a huge thing in my life, man, because they've saved my ass 1,000 times on the wet rocks and
Yeah,
slimy rocks. But these things were like the front portion of your shoe, and it looked like a cleat. So it was metal, and it had these old army green nylon straps that you would wrap around the top of your the toe, and you pulled down tight. These things lasted me for almost 10 years before they rusted out and I couldn't use them anymore. But I bought them
sweet.
for $5 at this flea market. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's the kind of and these things, I
yeah,
mean, the corkers, they're going for $80. You can't
yeah,
you can't find them cheap. So
yeah. I know. Fishing is the most expensive way to catch a free dinner.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
It's
can be,
just
can be. Anyway,
yeah. I mean, I'm really picky with what I use. Don't get me wrong. Do I need a $300 rod? No, I don't. But I fish hard and I fish every day. I want something that's going to last me a long time. So I get it with how expensive stuff is. And these flea markets are a way to save yourself a buck or two.
yeah, no, for sure. There's enough going on too, especially like I said, in the middle of this downtime, man, where you're thinking it's too cold to get out there. If you're not trying to hunt down these fish or white perch fish or top fish, then you can show your love in another way of just hitting these flea markets and trying to just keep this sport alive for sure.
Absolutely, man. So I think it's time to wrap this up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and we're gonna check you guys out next week, and I hope you enjoy the show. Tight
Yeah,
lines.
tight
We're
lines, guys.
out.